909 back for another episode of Reading the Wrong Way. Bear with me, I've got a little bit of a cold. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Rurouni Kenshin Meiji Swordsman romantic story by Nobuhiro Watsuki. I started reading this series when I was a preteen, and it's taken me almost a decade to complete my collection back here and read the story in its entirety. This series is rated OT for older teen. I think this is a good rating, but I also think it can walk the fine line between OT and M for mature, based on violence alone. There is a lot of violence in this manga, but don't let that scare you away. The lessons the story teaches are well worth the read. This is the longest series that I own, tied with Tsubasa, 28 volumes. The story opens with a brief tale about a legendary assassin named Hitokiri Batosai, who was famous during Japan's bloody Bakumatsu period. As the Meiji era began to take shape, the Hitokiri vanished without a trace. Our story begins in the 11th year of the Meiji Restoration in Tokyo, where a wandering swordsman, or Rurouni, with a cross-shaped scar on his cheek named Rurouni Kenshin, helps a young dojo owner named Kaoru Kamiya, who is trying to protect her school from the legendary Hitokiri Batosai. Himura has vowed never to kill anyone and wields the sakbado, a sword where the cutting edge is reversed. So on my little example, this cutting edge is actually where the blunt edge is, on the top. Will he be able to save the dojo? And what other secrets is he hiding? So what do you need to know about the series? This is one of those manga series where brushing up on your Japanese history will help you understand it better. I'm not saying you need to have a great knowledge of Japanese history to understand the story. Watsuki-sensei does a great job of explaining key details that you need to know. It will just help you enjoy the story more if you do a little bit of research. There are a lot of characters, some that were even real people during the Bakumatsu and Meiji Restoration. For example, a fan favorite, and mine as well, is Sagara Sozo, wrong page, who was the commanding officer of the Sekiho army who was executed. Another one is Okubo Toshimichi, this guy here with the awesome facial hair, who was one of the great commanding nobles that led the Meiji Restoration. Watsuki has done a fantastic job tying real life to his fictional world, especially in Okubo's story, but I won't spoil it for you. The story is also split into different story arcs. I break it up into 3. The first is learning about Kenshin and meeting most of the key players. The second is the Shishio Makoto arc. The series' first main villain appears in this arc. And the third and final arc is the Enishi Yukishiro arc. I also want to take the time to tell you about honorifics. This manga uses them heavily, whereas the others I reviewed really didn't. There is a glossary in the back of each volume, but let's talk about them now. For honorifics, you say a person's name, and then add the honorific of choice to show respect. For example, Mrs. Smith here would be Smith-san in Japan, san being the equivalent to Mr., Mrs., and Ms. Chan is the honorific you would use when talking to a child or a childhood friend you've grown up with. Dono is more respectful than saying san. It's similar to my lord or your highness. In the glossary it states that Kenshin uses dono to show respect and humility. Kun is used nowadays mainly by male students or among childhood friends, but in Kenshin especially it is used by someone of superior rank to someone of inferior rank, such as a teacher to a student. Sama is the opposite of that, used by someone of an inferior rank to someone in a superior rank. This story is unique in that it is both shonen and shoujo, which I think is why both genders truly enjoy reading it. The artwork is more shonen style, with heavy jagged lines during battle, but in the lighter times when the characters are enjoying a peaceful moment, the artwork softens to what I consider shoujo. The storyline as well is split. There are a lot of battles and fights, but there is also romance and touching character interactions. Of the historical characters that exist, except for Sagara Zozo, where no pictures exist of him, Watsuki-sensei has drawn them to look just like their real-life counterparts. If you want, you can look up Okubo Toshimichi in Google and compare his real-life picture to the one I showed in this video. There is also a decent amount of comedy to counter the amount of violence. Even during battles, supporting characters will comment and make jokes from the sidelines. The manga has to be my favorite as far as bonus content is concerned. The amount of bonus content is unbelievable when comparing it to others. There is, of course, the first page where Watsuki-sensei draws a small picture and talks about what's going on in his life. There are popularity contests occasionally that reflect the changing storyline. There's a series called The Secret Life of the Character at the end of each chapter that talks about what his inspiration for the characters was as far as design and personality is concerned. He also does free talk sections throughout the series that describe either his personal life or things happening with the Kenshin series beyond the manga. In certain volumes, most notably the first and final volumes, Watsuki has mini-series and short stories that he's done. This simply amazes me. You are not only getting the Rurouni Kenshin series, but a second story by the same author. In the final volume, he also talks about what he would like to happen beyond the original story's endpoint. And another fun note, Watsuki-sensei has actually played the Two Heart video game that the book is based on. Outside of the manga, there is still more for you to indulge in. Shonen Jump has released a Rurouni Kenshin's Profiles book that covers everything from the beginning to about halfway through the Shishio story arc. Included are several color illustrations, profiles of the characters, even the more minor characters, important dates, facts, and terms that you need to know to understand the historical aspect of the story, battle charts for all major battles, as well as Q&As with the author and FAQs. I would highly recommend purchasing this book to go along with the series. There is a second profile book out called Kenshin Kaden, but it has never been released in English. You can purchase the Japanese version from Amazon if you so choose. While we're on the topic of books and purchasing, if you decide to purchase the Rurouni Kenshin series, you may want to consider the VIZ Big Edition. Each book contains 3 volumes for the price of about 2. The books are a bit larger, as you can see by comparison, which makes reading easier to do, and contains all of the bonus content, including the short stories. In the long run, you'll be saving a lot of money. There is also an anime that I actually watched before reading the manga. I grew up with the anime. The reasons I started reading the manga partly had to do with the fact that only the first 2 seasons aired on television. There was no completion to the storyline, so I went to the manga. Good thing I did too. I much prefer the manga to the anime. Don't get me wrong, the anime is good, but the manga is better. You can purchase the complete box set or the individual 3 seasons. You do also have the option of purchasing individual videos that hold 4 episodes each, but that will be quite costly. My one complaint about the anime is that not all of the story arcs happen in the manga. For example, the only one that I own contains episodes 83 to 86, in which a character who leaves the story returns, and the heroes fight against an enemy that was never in the original series. But again, I won't spoil anything for you. There are also 2 OVAs, or original video animations, you can also purchase. There is Rurouni Kenshin, Trust and Betrayal, which documents Kenshin's time as an assassin, as well as his encounters with characters that show up later in the manga, and how he got his famous cross-shaped scar. The majority of this story is depicted in the manga as well, so don't feel you need to watch it to understand the story, but I highly recommend you do. The second OVA is Rurouni Kenshin Reflection. This one I'm a bit torn between. Watsuki-sensei really had no part in making it, which makes me as a fan a bit upset. The story is sweet, and I think I would like the story better if I hadn't read the original series. I will warn you, there's really no happy ending in it, which is the opposite of what Watsuki-sensei wanted for the series. It's more of a melodrama, and it lacks the quantity of battles. A lot of the characters don't really look the same when comparing it to both the anime and the manga, and many of them do things that are quite out of character. I'll leave this one up to you. One thing I'm really excited about with this series is the live-action movie coming out in Japan, which I'm hoping will make its way to the US. I've included a link to the trailer in the description box below. Just watching the trailer, I can already recognize all of the characters, and it seems really funny with excellent fighting scenes. It's due to release in Japan August 25th of this year, so fingers crossed that it comes this way. Well, I think I've talked long enough about this wonderful series. As you can clearly see, this is a series with a long history and a huge fan base. There are many different formats to enjoy it in, and once you've picked it up, you will never want to put it down. It can be quite costly if you're a collector, but I think it is worth the investment. You will want to reread it over and over again. You'll feel in touch with the characters of both fiction and real life. I hope you'll look into it if you haven't already dived into this unique and heartfelt series. Until next time. I also wanted to remind you guys again about the summer reading programs that most schools and libraries offer. If you haven't signed up already, you should try it out. Usually you get rewarded for how many books you read, and it's usually not too many. A lot of them also offer programs which are usually free, so it gives you a chance to just kind of hang out and do stuff for the summer. I've officially decided on what books I'm going to read. I'm going to start with the Larton Crepsley Saga by Darren Shan. It starts with Book 1, Birth of a Killer, followed by Oceans of Blood, followed by Palace of the Damned, and ending with Brothers to the Death. I'm going to read those 4 first, and then I'm going to go on to the Heir series by Cinda Chima, starting with The Warrior Heir, followed by The Wizard Heir, and ending with The Dragon Heir. For my final book, I'm going to read a book I got for Christmas this year about Studio Ghibli. It basically provides the different cultural themes and thematic threads about the films, as well as a history of the studio, which I'm really interested in. Eventually in the future, I hope to do a sort of a Studio Ghibli movie review video, so look for that. Also, I'm not sure exactly when I'll post the video, but I do plan on reading a manga, hopefully this weekend, maybe next weekend, who knows when. But I've wanted to read it for a very long time. I grew up watching the anime, but I'm going to hopefully read the pre-tier series this summer. I've been wanting to do sort of a comparison between this and the anime for a very long time because I know there are a lot of differences, so I'm really excited to read this one, so look for that also in the future. All of these different series are going to have their own review videos, so don't expect one giant video with whatever books I'm on. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm in the middle of the 2 Larton Crepsley books, so now I'll do a video because it's that time. I'm going to wait until I finish the series and then do one big review video of the series. So I really hope that you guys will check out the summer reading programs. Maybe you'll read the same books as me. I'm not too sure what everyone likes to read. But seriously, give it a chance. They're really fun. You get to do fun projects. You get to read your choice of books usually. So I hope you check it out at your local libraries and schools. Anyways, hope your summers are going well, and have a good time.
When I was given freedom, oh, all I did was play. When I turned back, there was nothing to say. You closed your doors before I could open mine. Now I know, now I see it was a